You are listening to Carolina Catholic Radio on the Carolina Catholic Radio Network. We're streaming on carolinacatholicradio.org and on the Carolina Catholic Radio app. Make sure you log on, hit that Donate Now button to help keep Carolina Catholic Radio on the air. I'm Chris, the producer, and today it's Faith and Sports with your host, Dr. John Acquaviva.
Chris, the crowd's not near as loud today. I don't know what's going on there. Folks, welcome to the show. However, wherever, whenever you're listening to us, this is Faith and Sport. You're listening to Carolina Catholic Radio. I do that exercise science thing down at Wingate University, and once a week, and now lately it's been once every few weeks, I come down here to the studio and we talk about faith and sport, where we apply our Catholic faith to every aspect of sports. So whether you're a fan, whether you are an athlete at any age, whether it's Little League all the way up to the professionals. Do you tell those people to pipe down, Chris? It's hard for me to concentrate there, brother.
They were getting excited for you.
I know, they're really excited. I'm excited to see them, too. Listen up. But you know what I find interesting is the rest of the show, how quiet they are. It's really amazing how courteous they are of what's going up here on the stage.
Except when Ed Billick's here. They get wild when Ed Billick is here.
How would you? I know he's like a beetle, that guy.
Yeah.
When he jumps up on the stage and all the people just scream, especially those women. Folks, anyway, this show, if you're an athlete, if you're a parent of an athlete, grandparent of an athlete, if you're an administrator, if you are a referee, or even if you're a fan, in fact, my guess is a lot of what we talk about has to do with the fan. This show is for you. So thank you for joining us today. Faith and Sport, where we merge sport and virtue. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to discuss all things ethics and sports, including our hit or miss with sports radio and TV veteran Tim Hill. I'm going to introduce him in a minute. He's right in studio with us. This is very exciting. We're going to do weekend headlines toward the half of the hour, and we're going to have more discussion on current topics in sport with Tim Hill. We're going to do the quick Q&A with Dr. A, and somewhere in there, brother, I'm going to find out, have you stopped smiling since your Atlanta Braves have won the World Series?
Nope, I have not, and I haven't, except for today, stopped wearing my Atlanta Braves gear.
Wait a minute, you probably took off your Elvis jacket to put on your Atlanta Braves gear.
Yeah.
Come on, this is what sports fans wait for.
That's right.
Winning the World Series, in my mind, I'm a fan of the Red Wings, the Pistons, the let's not talk about the Lions, the Wolverines. I love all Detroit, Michigan-related sports, but I have to admit, if the Tigers win, that's the most exciting thing of the year. I love especially hockey, and if the Michigan Wolverines win another national title, it's going to send me over the roof. But it's when the Tigers win, it's when it's the most special.
I guess so, because they seldom win, huh?
Tim, did you hear that? I think he dropped a bomb on my. Come on. Well, listen, let's bring on our guest and let's get started in our conversation today. He is Tim Hill. He has been on the air, radio or TV for 21 years now. You would never guess if you saw him, man. He looks like he's 28 years old. Most recently with 107.5 The Game in Columbia, South Carolina, where he was the co-host of the morning radio show there and the program director. Tim Hill, welcome to the show, brother.
John, thanks for having me, man. Chris.
Wow, the fans, they're excited about you too, Tim.
Almost as much as Ed Billick.
Well, we paid them the same rate, I think.
I think you brought some people up here from TGK, didn't you?
Absolutely, man. I identify with Chris right now.
Why is that?
Big Braves guy growing up.
Oh, were you?
But I don't think I have I got to take out a loan to get all the World Series gear, I think, that they're putting on sale now, Chris. Maybe I can steal some of your stuff later on.
Yeah, I've been hitting around on my Christmas list to all my family members. I was like,
smart.
Braves World Series gear, that'd look great under the tree.
Smart.
So, Tim, listen to this. So, about 2 years ago, I was asked to speak at we did the radio show. That's right. We did the radio show from the men's conference here in the Charlotte Diocese.
Yep.
One of the guest speakers was Father Richard, who's now the pastor at St. Gabriel's in Charlotte. And afterwards, I said, Father, he's a big sports guy, right? He played sports himself. He's into sports now. Keeps himself in great shape. And I said, would you be a guest on my program? And he said, I would absolutely do that. He says, but you know what? I can get you a really good guest or two as well. And I said, so go ahead. What do you mean? And he goes, Brian Snitker, the manager of the Atlanta Braves. And I have emailed him. I've lost count. So Father Richard, if you're listening, he told me, and now here's the thing, Tim, if I contact Snitker now, he's going to go, now you want to be, right? He's going to say that. But I told Chris that. I go, Chris, I keep trying to get a hold of Snitker. It would have been great to get him on this past winter. But I'm going to still keep trying.
Even now that they're World Series champions, it'd be awesome to get them on.
That's what I mean.
That was Snicker's plan, though. He would have come on as a World Series winning manager.
Maybe he'll answer that call down. That's true. Folks, you're listening to Faith in Sport. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. Other voices you hear are producer Chris Pressler, and then in studio today is longtime TV and mostly radio morning sports show guy, Tim Hill, most recently at 107.5 The Game in Columbia. Tim, before we get into our hit or miss, that's the way we always start the program. I kind of, pitch that to you. You got something coming from us there. Tell us a little bit about your life at the Game. Like, what did you do? What does it mean to be the program director? And a little bit about on-air stuff.
Well, I co-hosted the morning show.
What was it called?
We called it The Early Game.
The Early Game. I like
Very
that.
Very original.
No, I never heard of that. That's pretty good, brother. The Early Game.
At 107.5 The Game. The morning show is great if you're a sports guy. And this is coming from
to do it or to listen to it?
To do it.
Yeah.
To listen to it, it's a little too gimmicky for me sometimes. The high energy can wear on me.
Yeah.
To do it, you get first crack at everything,
That's
man.
right. That's right.
You get to... And to me, it's the best as well. You get to stay up and think about, what am I going to say tomorrow about this? What's my take on this? And then you get to do it with people you love working with. It's fantastic. And I did it with people I love working with for 5 years. It recently came to an end, and maybe we'll touch on that a little bit later on.
We will,
But, you asked what a program director does. He's basically just in charge of the station. Something goes wrong, you got to fix it. If there's...
Like technically...
You got a technical guy as well, but you got to be
you put somebody on that,
and then you got to make sure all the commercials are airing in the right spots, all the sponsors are happy, and the whole thing. And I had the privilege to kind of help that guide that thing. It's a great station in Columbia, South Carolina, the home of the Gamecocks, that lives and breathes college football, which is right up my alley. And most of us, I think, that like sports love college football as well. It was a blast to do for a while.
I bet it was, brother. And I like the fact that you touched on, although briefly, but I think everybody got the idea. You got first crack. Because one of the things I notice is that if you watch like news programs, for instance, if you watch for 2 or 3 hours straight, even if you're going in and out of the room, whether it's a sports program or just a news program, after a while they start repeating what the previous show just talked about. In fact, in some of the same way, because they're coming from the same angle, they have the same resources and so forth. You guys literally got first. So something happened late last night. You guys got to talk about it.
Yeah, and sometimes it happened during the show. Stephon Gilmore just got released and signed with the Panthers in the morning. And he's a former Gamecock from South Carolina, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's really, really fun to do, and to come in and do it every single day. It's a dream to talk about sports.
It is.
It's an absolute dream. I grew up and I wanted to play sports, figured out pretty soon that I wasn't going to be able to do that, and I've been lucky enough for 21 years to talk about it professionally. It's been a blast.
That's awesome. Folks, you're listening to Faith in Sport here on Carolina Catholic Radio. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. The voice you're just hearing is Tim Hill. In case you just joined us, Tim was most recently at 107.5 The Game in Columbia, South Carolina. We're going to hear from him throughout the show, both on what he thinks about what's going on in the world of sport. We're going to ping pong off each other, but also want to hear about some of his personal life as it relates to Catholic and being Catholic and his parish and so forth. But let's come back to that. The way we always start the show, whoever my guest is, we talk about a hit or miss in the world of sport.
Do you ever have hits?
Of course.
Okay.
Does it always seem like they're misses?
Just wondering.
That's actually a decent question.
Yeah.
Right? Because I pick on stuff. But no, a lot of times, and you know what it is my 2 oldest, Claire and Luke, over the past 2 years, they've been involved in softball and cross country and baseball for Luke and so forth. And a lot of really good things have happened to them. Either an umpire, making a good decision and handling it well from the crowd, and their coaches, the way they interact with the kids, the way they interact with the parents, a lot of really good stuff there. But that's good insight, brother, because I know he doesn't listen to a lot of the archives of our show, but you would probably assume that I just pick on sport a lot, right?
Well, I think that's the easy thing for us to do. If you got a mic, right, and you got a problem, you're watching a game.
That's right. And let me tell you another thing. Yeah, exactly. So let's hear from you. You have a hit or a miss from the last few days in the world of sport?
Well, I got to go with a hit after that little diatribe, don't I? All right, my hit, Cam Newton, Carolina Panthers. I knew you touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
It's not that I see it going well for the long-term deal. What I like and what I think is rare in professional sports across the board is lack of ego. Humility. actually having humility. Matt Rule came in and did the right thing, I thought. Cam Newton out. He could not put his stamp on the franchise with Cam Newton wearing his feathers and being Cam Newton. You know, and Cam Newton wasn't that player that he was 3 years before.
Just a couple years before,
the best player on the planet and the whole thing. He still thought he was, or he carried himself like that. I thought it was the right move to get rid of him. I thought it was absolutely the right move to bring him back when they did, and now moving forward. Now, you can say, I say humility, right? Mm-hmm. You want to argue that it was desperation? I think there's some legitimacy in
Chris,
there,
I didn't use the word desperation. Tim did.
I saw it in your eyes. There's definitely a part of that, but, man, that's professional sports,
sure.
Right? You got to win. You got to win now. You got to sell tickets. You got to make money. Cam Newton brings back energy to the Carolina Panthers. He made them relevant all weekend.
Yep.
He makes them relevant as we sit here today. Yep. And I think he makes them relevant moving forward. I don't know if he makes them a good franchise again. I think that's highly unlikely, but I think he makes it. It's a good story as we sit here today, Joe.
This guy's good.
Yeah.
We should get him a show here on Carolina Catholic Radio. He's like, if you paid me, I'd be here tomorrow, brother. No, that's a good point. In fact, I was kind of critical of the whole thing, but mainly what I was critical of was last year when they signed Sam Darnold. And I was talking to some of my students at Wingate, and I said, you really believe he's the guy? And I had a group of guys in there, and they're like, absolutely. But of course, Tim, they need to believe that.
Sure.
He had kind of shown himself. He was fully exposed as a pro quarterback. He's going to make some decent plays, but more than anything, he's probably going to keep them near 500. That's what I predicted. But this was an interesting move. But you and I both know some of it, maybe even a lot of it, what goes into these decisions are the contracts. Because it's one thing to get someone of his skill level, but his agent will say right away, you know you don't get him for free, right? And so that was a big deal for them to sign him. But Tim, I was so impressed with the chatter on radio and TV during the game yesterday, especially after the game and this morning. It was the talk of the NFL.
No doubt about it.
They couldn't stop talking about it.
Well, we love to build them up. We love to knock them down.
Yeah.
And now we're building them back up again, right? And I'm sure we'll knock them back down anytime.
Poor guy. No, I don't know this for sure because as I shared with you, this is the second year in a row that I have not watched any NFL. But I want to say he played only a couple plays. Is this true?
4 passes.
He threw 4. And then how many runs did he have?
Good question. I think just a handful.
Well,
I know it was a touchdown run. Touchdown pass.
Got it. And I want to say the 2 touchdowns he was responsible for happened in the first 3 plays that he played.
That sounds right. Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Why not be excited?
I mean, it's a great story.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see it ending well, but I think it was a hit.
I didn't say that, Chris. I have no idea what he's talking about, actually. I'm all about Cam Newton, the Panthers. No, sometimes it's really hard to push for them. And part of it is, you must have, Chris, when you guys were talking, or Tim, when you guys have all the talk about the Gamecocks down there, and there's got to be transplants for whatever reason. Professors that come to USC to teach, they're fans of other places, or people that come to work there in Columbia, and they call in and they just enjoy the fact that the Gamecocks are losing and losing. Right? There must be.
Don't forget the Clemson fans though in South Carolina.
Well, how far is Clemson from?
It's a couple hours, but that's not how the state works.
No,
right?
you're right.
You pick one or the other, and it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And of course the Clemson people, they enjoy. It's like Michigan State or any other. They love to see each other just drown in their own sorrow.
For sure.
Folks, you're listening to Carolina Catholic Radio. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. Thank you for joining us today. In studio, of course, as always, is producer Chris Pressler. And then our special guest today is Tim Hill. He's a longtime radio and TV guy. He just got sports guy. He's just got done talking about his hit or miss for the week. And that was Cam Newton. I agree with you, brother. That brings a lot of life to this area. And it was actually much needed. And the amazing thing is not only did they get a win with him coming in, they beat NFL's best, right?
Well, I wouldn't call the Arizona Cardinals the best without Kyler Murray and without
he wasn't
DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. But one of the best records out there for sure. And now, instead of dogging on Sam Darnold, like you were correctly doing, that was a conversation. And like, where's the organization going now? It's all right. Now, could they be relevant is really, I feel like, where they're at right now.
Yeah, they could actually not only hit 500, but go above it, because if you look at their schedule, I just heard that coming in today, they have a fairly easy schedule. But you know what? The previous games to this, they thought they were easy as well.
Right.
And look where they are. Mm-hmm. So you got to always watch out for that.
I think the biggest hit over the Panthers was Washington's win over Tom Brady and the Buccaneers yesterday.
You had to get that in there, didn't you, brother?
That was awesome. I mean, Taylor Heineke, he's turned out to be a good quarterback for Washington.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I know. And like I mentioned to you just before we went on, the two upset coaches are the Arizona Cardinals coach and the Tampa Bay Bucks coach. They're furious at losing games like that. They can't stand it. And that's the time that you hear what's in their hearts is when they lose games like that.
That's
but yeah,
right.
congrats to you and the Washington
Football team, yes.
What are they going to name that team, by the way?
We'll find out next year. I think that's when they're supposed to
I'm
unveil
surprised
the
they
new
went-
name finally.
I'm surprised they went this long. So do I have a hit or miss? Mine is it's a hit, actually. And I might have thrown you because I miswrote here. I wrote miss. But it has actually to do, I went back and forth on this, but it has actually to do with the playoffs. And even though this happened a couple weeks ago, we haven't had the program, this Faith in Sport, since then.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was outstanding what happened. It'll be interesting, Tim, if you guys remember what happened. In the playoff series in the American League between the Astros and the Red Sox, in a critical part, I think of Game 3, Carlos Correa hits a bomb. And as soon as he hits it, everybody, including him, his teammates, know it's into the next zip code. He looks down, he throws the bat, and he looks down at his wrist, and he taps it, and then he goes, "It's my time." Did you see this by chance?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I remember what you're talking about.
All right, so he goes, "It's my time, right? A little bit of upstage in the pitcher. I generally don't like that stuff. I think most managers go, just run the bases. And amazingly, nobody shot a ball at anybody, at least shortly thereafter. So fast forward, I think it was the very next game. The Red Sox pitcher, Eduardo Rodriguez, was pitching, and he was facing Carlos Correa, and he got Correa not to strike out, ironically, but just to bounce out weakly to second base. And after they threw him out at first base, Rodriguez was walking toward the dugout, and he was tapping his wrist. And they showed a picture of Joey Cora, or Alex Cora, sorry, Joey's his brother, of Alex Cora, and he went to the stop of the tip, and he was like, no, and like emphatically saying, don't do this. Like, come on, he can do that. You don't do that. And I just love that. It was a hit because Cora completely gets it. He knew that if Correa wants to do that, that's fine. But let's not make that the definition of our personality and who we are. And it just stuck with me, and I kept going back and forth. I was like, I'm going to do another hit and miss that maybe happened over the weekend. I'm going to do another hit and miss that happened just in the last few days. But that one couldn't leave my mind, and I just love when managers do that, because that's what this show is all about, is we want to discuss character, morality, and ethics. But more than anything, I think whether we're adults, whether we're fans or players, but especially to the young people of our culture, we want to make them better in the game of sport, right? Whether they're a fan or playing it. And I thought that was his little way of making sport better. Like, Eduardo, let's not do this.
It's the lack of response is what you're saying that showed you the character there. He didn't want his player to respond to the upstaging or whatever it was.
That's right.
Do you know who's the best in all of sports at doing this?
Let's hear it.
You guys want to guess? What team or organization?
Okay.
Would you take a guess?
Okay, what team or organization of any sport, any of the four major sports?
No, we're going to college as well. I'll give you a hint. It's college, and it's college football.
Okay, I'll say the incarnate word in Texas.
No. Great guess, though. Great guess.
Catholic school down in Texas. I figure maybe they have something going on there. Who is it?
Alabama.
Because?
Think about it. When do you see an Alabama player say, "Look at me, look at me"?
Got it.
Nick Saban has that culture so ingrained in, you have to be like us. We're not going to be like you. You have to be like us, because we got so many of you. We'll get rid of you real quick.
Yeah.
If you ever see another team get chippy, anything like that, Alabama, not only do they not respond, it's as if it doesn't happen. They don't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the best example of a culture ingrained in a place to what you're saying, where it's not about me, it's about we.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not about, not only do we not respond to your trying to get in our head or do anything extracurricular, we don't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
That's the amazing part about Alabama football's culture right now. It certainly helps that you win a whole bunch.
Brother, wouldn't it be a great, and I mean this literally, I have a couple kids at school. They're from Alabama. They came to Wingate to play sports or just go to school there, whatever the case is. And they're genuine Alabama fans. And I often say the same question to them. how is it to be an Alabama Crimson Tide football fan? And they just lean forward a little bit and go, it's wonderful. and let's face it, he's won 7 titles, Saban, 6 of them at Alabama. But also, you're proud to be in that fan base if that's what the team is like. That's their attitude. That's their culture, right? It's awesome.
Well, it's excellence.
Yeah.
Right? Excellence across the board and in character as well in those moments. It really stands out to me, especially in college football where you have so much undisciplined play
right.
and so much look at me.
Right.
Cam Newton certainly was part of that back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I was going to bring up, and I didn't really want to make it the focal point of the hit or miss, or maybe even more than 10 seconds. But it does bother me when athletes, as Cam Newton did, when they get unsportsmanlike penalties that hurt the team, that, and of course, we never know really whether it will hurt them or not. You have to let the game play out, or even, at least that kickoff playoff or play out, whatever the case is. But especially at the pro level, they rarely, if ever, will call them out, right? They don't want to embarrass the player. That's not how they do it. But in college, they will. And I think Lou Holtz was actually like that as well. Even though this is going back long time ago, he could not stand when a player at Notre Dame, when he was coaching Notre Dame, for instance, showed up the university and showed up that football team. One time, the kid did something, and he grabbed him by the face mask and pulled him in. He probably shouldn't have done that. He didn't necessarily hurt the kid, but it shows how frustrated he was. By the way, I'm sure you know this, but a lot of people, he slips under the radar, but Nick Saban, by all intents and purposes and by all accounts, is a practicing Catholic.
Nick Saban is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, in fact, I might have mentioned this on this show. This is about 5 years ago, and you could even check this out on YouTube. The campus ministry needed a new building, and I think they were going to build a chapel inside this building for the campus ministry, the Catholic campus ministry on Alabama, and Nick Saban gave $5 million to help build that. Isn't that neat?
That is neat, and I'm guessing Miss Terry had a lot to do with that, his wife.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure she did. But either way, he said yes, and I've always appreciated that about him, that he put his faith out there and he put his money out there. And a lot of people go, well, look how much money he makes. Of course he can spend $5 million on it. But my response is always, but he actually did it.
Right.
There's a whole lot of people that have tens of millions of dollars, and they don't do anything with that money, especially towards something like that's faith-based.
Absolutely. So you got Lou Holtz, you mentioned, obviously a notable Catholic as well.
That's
John Calipari on the basketball side,
Yeah.
a big one too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some real good folks out there, some of them which we've gotten on this program, but for some reason, they all don't respond to my emails. I've yet to figure that
You need to work on his email game, Chris.
Yeah.
That's right. In fact, I've said this, I think, on there. There's only 2 athletes who have directly turned down being on the show. And I'm happy to say, as Chris knows, we got some really good people on here, both coaches, former athletes, current athletes. But the 2 people that turned down, nicely in both cases.
Oh, can we guess?
Give
me a hint.
Okay, they're both Catholic.
Okay.
But boy, it's gonna be tough to guess because there's so many of them.
Okay.
One's an NBA basketball player.
Okay. NBA.
The other one was a Carolina Panther.
Okay. In NBA, what team we talking?
I might give this away, but it was the Lakers.
Kobe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Carolina Panthers,
Yep.
Catholic. John Casey, is he Catholic?
I think my guess is he
was
would
a
be
kicker
maybe
forever.
but it wasn't him. I'll give you a
Okay.
hint. He played on the defense.
Played on defense.
Long time.
There's a lot of good long-time defensive players. Well, it's not Sam Mills, is it?
No,
he was my favorite
I like
back
him.
in the
Everything
day.
I heard about him was more recently, just retired in the last 3 years.
Just retired in the last 3 years on the defense. Thomas Davis? No.
That's a good
No.
guess.
No, it's not.
Luke.
It's not Luke Kuechly, is it?
Yeah,
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Boston College.
Boston
Makes
College
sense.
guy. Yeah, and he talked publicly about his faith, and both times I reached out to their agents,
Right.
And they both, in fact, the Kobe Bryant's agent couldn't been more even apologetic with it, but they said no, he's too busy, and I felt like tapping back. He's retired, but I'm sure he was really busy, right? No, and I mean that with sincerity, but he just can't. And Luke Kuechly, it was in his playing days, and they can't say yes to everyone. But I really do believe, because when it's faith-based, that I have a little better chance than most people.
Yeah, I mean, we have had a Carolina Panther on the show, Muhsin Muhammad.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I remember Moose. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was
Now, if
good.
you're going to tell me Moose is Catholic, I'm going to...
No, I know.
Wait a second. I'm really confused about
Yeah,
this.
the Moose part really confused you.
Yeah.
Maybe the Muhammad part as well. Well, listen, we're going to go to, just in a couple minutes, the weekend. I told you this would be the fastest hour in sport, brother. This is crazy how quick this goes. So, listen, a little bit about you personally. So, you live nearby. Tell us the name of the town you live in South Carolina.
I have to tell it again because John's never heard of Tiga K.
You never heard of the sprawling metropolis of
I know,
TKK?
And tell us, your wife's name?
It's Fort Mill extended, by the way. Teresa.
Very good.
Teresa Menenti was her maiden name. Great in-laws, live around in Indian land as well. They
Awesome.
go over to Our Lady of Grace, which
Yep.
you're familiar
Yep.
with. We go
Yep.
to St.
And
Philip Neri there in
good.
Fort Mill. And I love the area.
3
Absolutely.
kids?
Yeah, 3 kids, all boys. My poor wife is hanging in there. Boy, we talk about sports a lot at my house.
Does your wife like sports?
She does.
No kid, like genuinely.
Oh yeah, she went to Florida State. Got to see the national championships back in the day. Yeah, so she's used to winning. She's used to winning sports.
Tim, did we talk about this? I did my PhD at Florida State.
Oh, wow.
When was she there?
Chris Winkie, Florida national championship days.
We were there at the same time.
Oh, you guys probably went to mass at the same time. I'm sure.
That's right. Absolutely. No, we could talk some of the same priests. We could. In fact, I'm sure that's the case. Do you know exactly what year she graduated?
2000.
Okay, yeah. So I graduated there she might have been a freshman when I was in my last year, because my last year was 97.
Yep.
But we might have crossed paths a little bit.
For sure.
So, I'd love to talk to her. That's neat. And us having one boy, actually, we have a newborn, and he's loud in his own way. But our son, our 10-year-old Luke, is as loud as the other 3 girls at their loudest combined with those 3. And I can imagine the decibel level in your house, brother. Tell me the ages of your kids.
8, 6, and 1.
Oh, okay. So the 1-year-old is loud in his own way.
For
but
sure.
Yeah, the 8 and 6, they make you have to have soundproof walls like we see in this
Yeah.
next room over here. But if anybody knows how to soundproof a room, it's a program director at
That's
a radio
right.
station. Brother, when you were, say, a freshman in college,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody said 10 years from now, what do you think you'd be doing? And if they would have said sports radio, you would have said, I can see myself doing that. But if somebody just asked you independently when you were a freshman, what would you have said?
That's exactly what I was saying.
No kidding.
TV
even
or
in
sports radio.
Even in high school, you were thinking that.
Yeah, my freshman year of high school, I wrote an essay about it.
No
Absolutely.
kidding.
Yeah.
Talk about dreams coming true, brother.
No
We
doubt.
got to get you back in there. No, I mean that. Well, after the break, we're going to come back with that. So listen, Chris, let's do some music. We'll go to weekend headlines. We'll do these headlines, take a break. We'll come back, have more time with Tim Hill and whatever he's thinking.
Yeah,
of the world
I mean,
of
I
sports.
can totally relate to Tim. I mean, radio has always been my dream, and here I am,
There you are.
Attaboy.
co-hosting a sports and faith radio show with yours truly, John Acquaviva.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition.
This is Weekend Headlines with Dr. John Acquaviva on Faith and Sport.
Here we go, folks. Just a quick rundown of the PGA. American John Cockrick. He gets the win at the Houston Open over the weekend. The next stop on the tour is the RSM Classic in Seattle, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
In fact, I think there's only a couple of weeks left in the PGA Tour, so we got to get it while it's hot, folks.
That's right.
In the NHL, the season is well underway, and the hottest team remains the local favorite, Carolina Hurricanes, whose record stands at an NHL best 11-2. Did you know that they're on fire?
I didn't know that.
They are on fire. And of course, with the Carolina Panthers and everything going on around them, I think people most part of the state go, we have a professional hockey team? Major League Baseball, of course, the season is over, but this show would be remiss. Whose producer is an A1 Braves fan.
That's
if we
right.
did not mention once again who won the World Series this year, the Atlanta
Atlanta
Braves.
Braves.
Congratulations, brother.
Yes.
The best thing that's happened to you as a fan ever, right?
Yeah,
right?
since '95, the last time they won the World
But you
Series.
probably enjoyed this more because when you're in high school, you enjoy it.
Yeah.
But the fact is that there hasn't been this long lead up because
Right.
your time as a fan has been relatively short. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's right.
And this time you've been waiting for decades.
Yeah, and the surprising thing to me was I thought they would get the win on their own home field, but they actually got the win on the
Yeah.
Astros home field, which was pretty awesome too.
You know, I was hoping the Braves would win for you, but ultimately, of course, I didn't care. I wanted to see it go to 7 games, but I do kind of like to see, especially if I don't dislike the team, which is not very often. I like to see the team that wins win it at home. It's just more exciting, right? And you just, like, it's pure joy for whoever's winning and the fans, and you can relate to that, and you're just
Right.
happy for them. unless it's somebody that you don't like, like the New York Yankees or something like that.
That's right. I was wishing
Ohio
that
State Buckeyes.
When they won, I was wishing I was one of the fans there on to storm the field along with the rest of the fans there.
Instead, it's kind of melodramatic. I remember the last time my beloved Red Wings won the Stanley Cup. They won the 7th game in Pittsburgh, and it just was not there. It was so exciting, and then all Pittsburgh fans are like banging on the glass, boo, go home. The very next year, they played Pittsburgh again, but it was in reversal. The Pittsburgh Penguins had the best record, so they were. It was reversed. The Red Wings had the best record, so the 7th game had to be played in Detroit. And the 7th game, the Penguins won, and it was the same thing. They're like going crazy on the ice, and all the Red Wings fans were like, "Go home. You've celebrated for 30 seconds. You can go home now."
Well, maybe 1 year a miraculous miracle will take place, and the Tigers will go to the World Series and win. You'll see what it feels like to have your team win the World Series,
brother. Speaking of the aforementioned Carlos Correa, it looks like they're going to get him. They're on a spending spree. In fact, the aforementioned Eduardo Rodriguez, they picked him up this morning. They're going to go on a spending spree because they have all these high-round draft picks in the last couple of years. I think they're going to be pretty good, so watch out, brother. It might be them and the Braves next year. Hey, one more thing in the weekend headlines. NCAA football, no big upsets in the top 25, but noteworthy is that number 13 Baylor beats previously undefeated Oklahoma. And that leaves number 1 Georgia and highly ranked Cincinnati as the only 2 teams of significance to remain unbeaten. And remember, you heard it here, folks. UGA will be your national champ come January. Do you agree with that, Tim?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean,
tough.
But you know what? A month from now, you and I will be sitting here, maybe 2 months from now, and we're going to go, can you believe Alabama pulled that out again? I mean, we could easily say that. Unbelievable. All right, folks, there you have it. Sports news that may or may not change your life. Take it away, Chris.
You are listening to Faith and Sport on the Carolina Catholic Radio Network. We're streaming at CarolinaCatholicRadio.org and on the Carolina Catholic Radio app. So next time you log in to CarolinaCatholicRadio.org or the Carolina Catholic Radio app, make sure to hit that Donate Now button to help Carolina Catholic Radio stay on the air and to keep great programming like Faith and Sport coming to you weekly here on Carolina Catholic Radio. And we've got more Faith and Sport coming up right after the break, so stay tuned and don't go away.
Carolina Catholic Radio needs volunteers. We're currently looking for help in local news, public relations, business development, and digital assets management. Please join us. For more information, contact us through our website at carolinacatholicradio.org.
Hello, my name is Ray Hayward, and I'm coming to you today to speak to you about the Fraternity of St. Joseph Men's Group, a men's group that was started under the leadership of Father Matthew Card by the intentional men of the parish of St. Thomas Aquinas here in our Diocese of Charlotte, North Carolina. In our first efforts, we were asked if we would model our men's group in a way that other parishes could simply follow. With that intent in mind, we created the FSJJourneyman.com website. On that website, you can find all that is needed to create your own chapter of the Fraternity of St. Joseph Men's Group in your parish, as well as resource documents that we are intentionally placing into our faith community. We hope that you will step closer to the path and to each other in the just model of St. Joseph as you consider creating your own chapter of the Fraternity of St. Joseph Men's Group.
Teachers that care, professors that care about you. Just an awesome experience all around.
There's peace here. There's encouragement here.
Faculty, everybody that works here, they really set you up for success.
I don't think I have ever felt as loved and as supported and as encouraged as I have at the Abbey.
There's something here that's underlying and intrinsic. There's like a spirit of love and community. And I think the Spirit is God's presence here.
Belmont Abbey College, a world away, but close to home. Visit us at belmontabbeycollege.edu.
To keep our Carolina Catholic apostolate growing and thriving, it's up to all of us to spread the word. A great way to do this is to hold a Carolina Catholic weekend at your parish, or bring us in to do a live broadcast at a parish event this fall. We have had a wonderful response to these weekends at St. Mark, St. Therese, St. Michael, St. John Newman, and most recently at St. Thomas Aquinas. Carolina Catholic has many awesome plans for you across our 6 platforms this fall. In the weeks ahead, we will begin to share our plans as we secure your financial support to make them a reality. Please consider a one-time donation or monthly tithe today. Please go to the Donate tab on carolinacatholicradio.org. Carolina Catholic is needed now more than ever to evangelize the truth of Jesus Christ and our Catholic faith to guide us in daily life. Thank you for your prayerful consideration to join us in our mission across the Carolinas. May God bless you abundantly.
You are listening to the Carolina Catholic Radio Network. We're streaming at carolinacatholicradio.org and on the Carolina Catholic Radio app. You're also listening to Faith and Sports. I'm Chris. Great to be here with you on another Monday to bring you the best in faith and sport, along with your host, the one, the only, the most incomparable, Dr. John Acquaviva.
Hey, folks, welcome back to the show. Listen, if you're just joining us, you listen to Carolina Catholic Radio. This is Faith and Sport, where we take a look at sport through a Catholic lens. But if you have a question for me, if you have a guest you think would be good on the show, if you just have a comment about the show, email me at john@faithandsportradio.com. That's Faith and Sport. That's A-N-D there, faithandsportradio.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Even if it's constructive criticism, he doesn't care.
Or the fact that, as Tim pointed out, that, dude, you do, like, the last 8 weeks, they've all been misses in the world of sport. Throw in a hit every once in a while. Listen, I mentioned Tim. He is Tim Hill. He's my special guest today. He has the opportunity to join us because he is no longer on sports radio, even though previous to this past 4 weeks, he's been on sports radio and TV for the past 21 years, basically since he's been a freshman in high school, one way or the other. Is that fair to say?
From college.
From college. Sorry, I said high school. Yeah.
So this is your big comeback, right?
Me and Cam Newton this week.
That's right, Tim. I'm so sorry. Carolina Catholic Radio has to be your big comeback, but we got a decent amount of listeners. You know, what'd be great is to have Tim on when we do the Radio Maria thing. You know, I didn't mention this to you. When we're on regularly, at least every other week, we get syndicated on Radio Maria, and they're on 5 different states, 11 different affiliates. So at least, maybe, and we'll put out an ad. We can read an ad. Tim Hill is looking for a job. Now, speaking of Tim Hill looking for a job, brother, tell us in all the detail you're willing to share while you're looking for a job right now.
Well, I got fired from my job in Colombia because I refused to adhere to the Cumulus Media new COVID-19 vaccine policy. And their vaccine mandate, I think, went official October 11th. So that's when officially I was no longer with the station.
And that was what's the term? Prescribed is not the right word, but that wasn't from the United States government, wasn't from the state of South Carolina. They just said, this is our date. If you're not vaccinated, you have to walk out the door.
For sure. So they wanted, they sent everybody home, 19, 20 months ago, right, when the pandemic first hit. And then they wanted to bring everybody back this past October. And they were originally going to do it Labor Day weekend, and they were encouraging vaccinations. And then
at the time,
they called that off. And then August 11th, they said, nope, we're doing our vaccine mandate. This was before President Biden came out and made it a federal deal. Just their choice, and my choice was not to adhere to that. And here I am today.
Brother, was there a conversation between you and the people that, and these people were literally not in that studio, right? Where's Cumulus Radio?
It's headquartered in Atlanta. They have corporate headquarters in New York as well.
Was there an actual conversation that took place, or was it all through email?
All through email. I did talk to my boss in Columbia, and unfortunately, she was kind of put in the middle, right?
Yeah.
From the corporate HR, where I just had emails back and forth, and that's basically who told me I would no longer be a part of the company, and then it was her just having to execute, from the ground.
My thought is that was your fear, but did you think this was going to happen? Like, let's say go back to July or June. Would you have said, "No, I'm Tim Hill. I
never would have said that.
No, but
that would be ridiculous.
But what I mean is, how long have you been with those guys?
5 years, and then a year before that, part-time. But
brother, isn't there some loyalty that you didn't expect any of that?
None.
Oh, you're a better man than me.
Well, it's corporate radio, right?
Understood.
And it's not just radio. This has happened to television everywhere, too. This has happened in our country and multi-industries all over the place, right? Corporations rule, and they do what's best for their business, bar none. Best for their business, right? So that it's a spreadsheet, it's a thing, and they move forward. Now, I was really wildly disappointed it happened. But I just don't think that way. The hypothetical you phrased to me, would you think this will happen? Yeah. I always thought we could figure it out. I worked from home for 18 months, figured out worst case scenario, I just keep working from home. If I was so dangerous to everyone else.
Did they at any point spell out why, even though that was a logical response or answer to the dilemma, Tim, you can continue to work from home, but they obviously wanted you guys in the studio live, but is there sound reason why you couldn't keep doing? Did they ever offer a reason why you couldn't keep doing it from home?
It's too dangerous.
What's too dangerous?
To their employees.
But you're doing it from home.
Then too dangerous to do it from the studio with other employees, and Cumulus Radio thinks the best radio is done in person.
Live, which I agree with, right? But there should be exceptions to all this. Now, brother, was this religious-based or was this freedom-based, a combination of both? Did they ever ask you to articulate the reasons why you didn't want to get vaccinated?
Sure. So medical exemption request put in, religious exemption request.
These are two separate. These are two separate sheets,
forms.
basically.
Exactly. They ask follow-up questions. There's a back and forth. Offered all kind of accommodations. Right.
You did, of course.
I'll be happy to wear a mask.
Yes.
Be happy to have plexiglass
be
put
tested
up.
weekly.
Absolutely. Be in a separate studio. Like Chris is behind glass with us right now, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming, I'm not an expert, but your germs are staying in there and our germs are staying here.
Yeah.
We have a similar setup in Columbia. Would have happy to do it there. And then worst case scenario, I thought I'll just keep doing it from home, but that's not how they saw it.
And these were two different forms that you filled out, and then were they both officially denied? Like, did you get some type of response? Like, these are denied.
Yeah.
And as far as you know, there was no acceptance at Cumulus Radio, at this particular radio station, or anybody you know? Not
at ours, but I have heard of a case or two, just kind of secondhand talk that the exemption request was granted.
Do you know why?
No idea. I mean, it's not my business.
No, of course, but you must be somewhat curious. It's just as a human being, you're like, I'd love to know why.
Yeah, I guess. I just feel like it would probably just make me more bitter or, more angry to know, more disappointed.
Of course.
Back to the religious part of it, though, I know it's a tricky part for Catholics, right? We have the Pope encouraging, saying it's an act of love for other people. I get all that. Also looked up the Catholic National Bioethics Center.
Yeah.
They say at no time should vaccinations be mandatory.
That's right.
And you have to examine your conscience. You have to consider the aborted fetal cells involved in the development and the whole thing. And to me, with all of that combined in there, it was not something that I ever questioned. This was where I stood on it.
Yeah.
And I understand my company stood in a different spot. I had hoped we could meet somewhere in the middle. They didn't see it that way. And I kind of just see it as this is God's plan for me to move on from that, and who knows what's next.
This is his biggest question I could ask you regarding this. But let's say the pandemic, for all intents and purposes, ends, right? Let's say it's 2 months from now, and numbers are so low that it's whatever, right? We know at some point this is going to happen, whether it's 2 months from now or 2 years from now. At some point, we're going to go, remember when, right? If that happened in 2 months or 2 years, would you be able to get your job back there?
No idea. I have no idea.
You never broached that. Yeah,
it,
for obvious
it doesn't
reasons.
seem likely.
Yeah.
A likely ending to this story.
So let's talk more kind of like formally about your job, because I'm curious. I think a lot of people out there, especially I know if they're listening to this show, there has to be a love of sport to a certain degree. That's mainly what this show's about. We just try to weave that stuff about character, ethics, and morality regularly into the conversation. But this is the first time in my years of doing this. I've had all kinds of people involved in sport to different degrees, but this is the first time we've had a full-timer in the world of sports radio. You're on the air for 3 hours with commercials close to 2 hours each day. But that's a lot of time on the air, 10 hours plus on the air. How do you prepare for all that? Is there a preparation for that? And if so, how do you prepare for that?
Well, different people do it different ways. And
how do you do?
I was fortunate to always work with someone. I don't enjoy the solo show. I've done them before, but at some point I feel like kind of like I do when I go jogging.
Yeah.
What am I doing this for? Yeah. Am I crazy? Am I talking to myself right now? That's how I feel if I'm doing a solo show in a lot of ways.
It's hard.
But I love the back and forth. Sitting here with you, hearing your opinion. I'm like, what do you think about this? Or I disagree on this. I love that. So I was fortunate to work with a great co-host in Columbia here the last 5 years, and Bill Gunter, and he's taken over the show and doing just fine with it. And as far as the preparation process, to me, I think people who don't do it make it way too difficult.
What do you mean?
We love sports.
Yeah.
Our preparation to talk about sports is to live our lives.
That's right.
Right? I don't have to sit down and study. If sports are on, I'm going to watch.
That's your show.
I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, it's that, and it's also evolving to get your ego out of the way, to get any kind of preconceived notions of this is what people want to hear out of the way. All that's garbage. Right? People want to know what you think and what you're going through.
Yeah.
So you push everything else to the side. I've heard it described as you kind of crack your chest open.
Yeah.
And then you just go.
Let it flow.
And then you get the responses, you work people in and the whole thing. And then it really gets fun, right? You get calls, people disagree, they agree. You throw some Twitter in there, you get some emails, the whole thing. And that's what I always have loved about sports talk radio is the collaboration. That everybody gets to get in there in some way or form, and then you kind of earn how much of a voice you have, whether it's a caller, a host, or whatever.
Folks, you're listening to Carolina Catholic Radio. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. My in-studio guest today is Tim Hill, longtime radio and TV sports guy. He recently came from 107.5, The Game in Columbia, South Carolina. He's just heard why he is no longer with him. I give you a great deal of credit, brother. And I respect your decision a great deal. And one of the things that a lot came through my mind as you were talking, and I've had these thoughts a lot, but one of them was recently I said to somebody about the aborted fetal cell line that is used to establish these vaccines. They looked at me as if I were an octopus. And I said, you never heard of this? I don't even know what you're talking about. But, that sounds normal to me, right? That sounds right. A lot of people do not know about that. And my guess is a whole lot of Catholics out there would either not know about it, and those who do just kind of shrug their shoulders and go, that's not a real big thing for me. And you are not alone. I'm sure along the way you've met other people like you that think like you and made decisions like you. And I'm pulling for you in prayer, but just like in an informal, formal manner, however you want to word that this works out. And I'd like to see people like that reverse their decisions either through wisdom or through lawsuit. I hope one of those things happens for you, brother. I
appreciate that, John. And I know I'm not alone in this. There are so many others out there going through the very similar situation. And the only reason I continue to talk about it is not to try to say, woe is me, or I'm a martyr, or anything like that. It's just to encourage everyone out there to follow their conscience and to not be bullied into a decision they don't want to make.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what they're trying to do, the corporations and companies with the mandate. They're trying to act like it's a law when it's a mandate. A mandate is not a law.
That's right.
With a mandate, you should have the choice whether you want to get vaccinated or not, and not have to choose between having a job and not having a job.
It's always interesting to take a look at an election and then to say what would have happened if the other person would have won. Mm-hmm. But without question, our whole culture would be different if this president had lost and the former president or somebody else from the Republican Party would have won. It just would be like, it would be palpable within our culture. and astoundingly different. It wouldn't just be somewhat different. It'd be astoundingly different.
No doubt. And the ironic part for me is I've never considered myself a big politics guy. I'd love to talk about sports.
Yeah.
And anybody who ever called in our station, if it was about politics for more than a few minutes, they'd be like, hey, what are you guys doing? Talk about sports, man. We don't want to hear your political.
Yeah.
And I'm just, that's my training.
Yeah.
And now to be in this position is really, it's surreal in a lot of ways.
Tim, going back to on-air work that you did, was there anything while you were on the air that was difficult? In other words, did you resent or find it really difficult if somebody called in and disagreed with you, or you had a disagreement with your co-host, or was there ever something that you're like, geez, oh, Pete, I don't want to take what's going on in the world of sport down this trail any longer. I want to go in a different route. And I mean that. I understand that there's some challenges, of course, coming up, articulating a point, getting your point across, listening to the other person, whatever the case is. But was there anything that was just downright difficult about your job?
Compared to real jobs, no.
I think that's what I was getting at. I appreciate that.
But, with certain sensitive topics, players kneeling during the national anthem and people fired up over that, whether it's nationally, locally, whatever, sometimes that one is. But again, it's to me, the easy solution is just to be honest, man. Crack it open, get it out there, and if you continue to harp on something, I think that's where the difficulty lies. If you get a caller that says the same thing every single day, like, all right, let's move the conversation forward. I think that was probably the most, that's the thing that pops to my head to answer that question anyway.
What if somebody contacted you from anywhere in the nation? Now, you were in Columbia. I think you said to me off air, about 80 to 90% of all the discussion had to do with Gamecocks college football,
Absolutely,
correct?
Yes.
And the other 10% was?
Carolina basketball, baseball, let's see, women's basketball these days is really good.
All combined within those 10% or about. But is there an ideal market out there for you?
No, that was it, man.
That was it?
Yeah.
Because you love college football so much, you just...
Well, I went to my first South Carolina football game when I was 3. My dad grew up a big South Carolina football fan. He went to law school down there.
I guess would it be equivalent to me like going back to Ann Arbor, because I'm such a big Michigan fan, going back to Ann Arbor and just talking about having a sports show in Ann Arbor. We could talk about the Tigers and the Lions, but the main focus is... But at times, though, weren't you like, I'd like to talk about the NFL more. I'd like to talk about college baseball more, or like outside of there. But that was just what you did, and you just fully embraced it and enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't remember feeling that way that often. Well, but that's also the freedom that sports talk radio gives you, right? If you can make it interesting, you get a little leeway.
That's right.
If it's going on now, like you have a reason to do that, and if you're a host and you have a good relationship with your co-host, hey, here's what we're going to do today. Let's see where it goes.
Got it. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
And you probably every day, like me as a college professor, I really believe this. I say every Sunday night, I get to go to work tomorrow. And there's too many people in this country that go, I have to go to work tomorrow. And you're probably one of those small percentage of people that said every morning, I get to go to work today.
For 21 years.
Yeah.
Ernie Johnson put it the best.
What
he
did
does
he
the
say?
TBS show.
Yeah.
He's got a get-to job, not a got-to job.
Yeah, very good. Brother, listen, we had a couple minutes left. I want to get, let's sift gears here a little bit, and I want to get Tim's opinion on some of this stuff. I'm going to try to give a brief answer, but I'd love to get your opinion on these different topics in the world of sports. Let's do the quick Q&A with Dr. A, see if we can get through both of these questions.
Okay, the first one, is it a good idea to go from the 4-team college football playoff?
Yeah, so what they're referring to here, as you know, Tim, there's big discussions going on with the NCAA, and it looks like it's going to happen, right? Would you agree that it's inevitable? It's going to go to
from 4 to 12? Is that what you're talking about, Chris?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
They're going to jump right over 6, which made sense to a degree, right? Give the first 2 a bye. Go to 8 maybe, but 12, Chris. And, of course, they're doing it for 2 primary reasons, right? They don't want to exclude any of these teams that could have been in there. Like, for instance, Cincinnati is likely to be left out this year. Would you agree?
At this point, yes.
Yeah. And there could be some crazy things that go on, but I could see Notre Dame even leaping them just because of the toughness schedule, which would be unfair to Cincinnati because they do have that game in common. And the other thing, of course, is the generation of income. They're going to make a huge killing on this. But objectively speaking, good, indifferent, bad, what's your feeling on if they jump to a 12-team playoff?
I'm all for it. More the merrier.
Come on, brother. You gotta fight against this a little bit. Do you see why though it's not a good idea?
I can see the case being made. What the regular season is so important. God, that's garbage. Come on, absolute garbage.
I like a man who speaks his heart on this show, Chris.
I mean, what other sport in the world do we not
only
have a tournament at the end where more is better? Oh, the NCAA basketball tournament. Don't we love 65 teams?
It's
now?
like 68 or
whatever.
Yeah, playing games and all that.
Yeah,
the chance for that upset story. If you can get more chances for that. I love it. You can include more. The worst thing possible is to start a season, never lose a game, not have a chance for a championship. What is that? That's not America. That didn't make any sense to me at all. Nope. Well, why'd you play the season?
He had to throw that American flag in there, Chris, didn't he? He was waiting to do that. It took him 55 minutes, but he did it. But here's one of the things, and I know that the NCAA will always miss this, and I know they missed this when they went to the 12-team playoff, is they loved the water cooler chatter the next day going, can you believe this guy? They were left out of that bowl game, the Rose Bowl or the Orange Bowl. Because remember, that's the way it used to be, right? It just these two teams would play for the national title, and that's it. And then it went to 4 teams. Boy, look who was left out. And this year, already the UCFs of the world that are now in Cincinnati's court are going, because remember UCF a couple years ago, we won the national title. But there's something to be said about that. The thing that just surprised me is that there was so little, or seemingly so little, discussion on 6 or 8 teams, because 12, you might literally, Chris, or Tim, sorry, you might literally, Tim, have maybe a 3-team loss team in there, or three loss team in there.
Yeah, Chris, you can't listen to that, by the way, just me. No, but we see it all the time in the NFL. In Major League Baseball this year, how many games did the Braves win? They won 44 before the All-Star break, 44 after the All-Star break. They won the World Series in the 44th week. There's a reason that happened, right? You can't tell me that's a coincidence. So they only won 88 games, but they got hot at the right time. I'd love to see that in college football. You'll see the hot team win it. I'm all for it.
It just hit me why Tim is for this so much. Somehow a 4-loss South Carolina team, he thinks it's going to slip in there somehow. In fact, next year he's going to be on air saying, we need a 2014 playoff, everybody. The Gamecocks need to slip in there somehow. Listen, brother, this has been great. I told you when we talked last week, I said, be prepared. This is going to be the fastest hour in radio, because you're used to being on for 3 hours and you could clearly get out all the things you wanted to say and want to say, but this went as quick as anything. And I thank you so much for doing this. So let's come back to any brief conversation that we can have. But let me end by giving out this quote from John Paul II, who said, "Give thanks to God for the gift of sport, in which the human person exercises his body, intellect, and will, recognizing these abilities as so many gifts of his Creator." Again, that's from John Paul II. And I promise, even though I've been doing that for over a year, at some point, I may or may not change that quote. I love that quote so much. It's so tough for me to get away from it. Brother, anything else, and I mean this in 60 seconds or less, I have a list of things that drive me crazy. The hypocrisy of the NBA when it comes to the HB2 bill, and then they're signing the same minute they seem to be signing a contract with China, human rights violators of the world. But what drives you crazy about sport? Like, just in general.
Lack of opportunity to win a championship if you're undefeated.
So just mainly in college football, though. But, yeah, you think there's great opportunities, of course, in basketball, the NCAA.
Yeah, but what you're talking about really is business, and I try to separate it in my mind. That's just people messing it up for business reasons. And I'd love to end, and I really appreciate the opportunity. But there's plenty of reasons to be pessimistic right now about a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
But I choose to see the good in things. I feel like that's what I hear on Sundays in my pew, and that's what I think we all, this world would be a better place if we all try to do that as best we can. Just encourage everyone to see the good, if not as well, maybe just to focus on the good as much as you do the bad.
What a great perspective there. Yeah. We got to bring him over just so we can hear that, because as soon as he leaves here, I'm going to go, and another thing, Chris, darn it, I can't believe. But you know what? All misses
We need an
today.
extra hour for all that.
I know, it's like David always says, our CEO, he's like, John, if you want to be on for another hour, you always have that right.
Yeah.
So, folks, listen, before we go, special thanks to you, Tim Hill. Special thanks to our producer, Chris Presser. Thank you for all you do for Carolina Catholic Radio. Thank you guys for both being here today. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. Please join us next time here on Carolina Catholic Radio for more Faith in Sport.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of Faith and Sport today on the Carolina Catholic Radio Network. It was great having Tim on the show and being a part of his great radio comeback. Hope he comes back to the show real soon. And we hope you tune in to Faith and Sport next time here on the Carolina Catholic Radio Network, streaming at carolinacatholicradio.org and on the Carolina Catholic Radio app. And make sure, whether you go on the app or carolinacatholicradio.org, to hit that Donate Now button to help keep Carolina Catholic Radio on the air and great programming like this on the airwaves. We'll see you next time.